Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way channel. You join us a couple of hours after Celtic's undefeated league season came to an end today, unfortunately. Kilmarnock 2, Celtic 1. Celtic took the lead through Matt O'Reilly before Kilmarnock equalised through an own goal from Nat Phillips. Nat Phillips put the ball through his own net, and then the other player actually escapes me his name. Matty Kennedy. That's who scored. Yeah, it was Matt Kennedy that scored his first goal for Kilmarnock in what was a 2-1 defeat for Celtic. My name is Ryan McGinley. I'm delighted to be joined, as always, by Tony Haggerty. Tony, how are you doing after that?
Next question, please. That was a shocker. I don't think anybody can have envisaged that or seen that coming after the first half, but it did, and there's lots of people you can blame. The manager, there's players on the park, but they were just they were just kind of outthought, weren't they? Outfought the second half, which just isn't what you've come to expect from Celtic. And the manager spoke about the fact that he lost a rag at them at half time in St Johnstone last week. My goodness, I hope he lost a rag at them at full time this week. And he's not entirely blameless, to be fair, in all of this. So, where do you start?
I know where we'll start. We'll start first of all by thanking our sponsors, as always, MPH Group, for sponsoring this video. Pre and post, morning briefings, reaction videos both to games and to press conferences as well. We thank MPH Group for always sponsoring us and helping us out. Winter is rolling in. Winter is definitely here if you look at Tony's car. It's brought to you by MPH Group, who are Scotland. They are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialists covering all of mainland Scotland. Winter's rolling in, as I said, and if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, then MPH has an enticing Navien Boiler Winter Promotion just for you. When you opt for a Navien Boiler installation for MPH, not only are you choosing top-tier efficiency, but you're also getting a free Navien Internet Controller, which this gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to impressive 98%, and they're covering the first year's service with no added costs. MPH even offer flexible finance options, so gear up for the chill and consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien. As always, if you're looking for plumbing, heating, kitchen or bathroom work, then look no further to MPH Group and Navien, and Tony is pointing to the screen above you. Right, should we get maybe we should talk about it chronologically, the game.
Go on,
because we can talk about the positives in the first half, of which I thought there was quite a few, to be honest. I thought the first half performance was all right, or as good as it can be on a plastic pitch. Not going to get into the plastic pitch. Two teams have to play on it, but Celtic took the lead through Matt O'Reilly. It was great work from Cal McGregor playing in that further forward position in that number 8. He beats a couple of men, shoots a shot, saves by Will Dennis, and then Matt O'Reilly's there to follow up with a good rebound into the back of the net. Just on the first half, I thought Celtic were playing quite well and they were well in control. Yes, their chances that they had in front of goal were squandered. There was many that were squandered. I think we'll talk about a few in particular, maybe from O. But on the whole, in the first half, there was nothing to really worry about, apart from obviously the fact that there was I see that there wasn't much to worry about, but Kilmarnock were in the game for the full 90 minutes. I actually need to give them credit in that regard, because the goal line clearance, the goal line save from Alistair Johnson, they hit the bar or frame or crossbar or the post or wherever it was positioned. They did have chances in the game, and I think it would be wrong to deny them of saying that, not just in the second half, but in the first half too. But Celtic were controlling the ball, they were controlling the tempo, and I thought they were well worthy of their 1-0 lead going into half time.
Yeah, Celtic were decent in the first half, but I mean, O's fresh aired it in front of goal, hasn't he? Don't know how he's not managed to put that in. Ball that comes right across. A couple came right across, but they were in control. They were kind of dominating. But having said that, Kelly had arguably the two best chances. Danny Armstrong's to score. Hits the frame of the goal on the side of the bar, and then the best piece of defending you'll see all season and in a long time, Alistair Johnson throws himself with his back as your man's about to Ndaba, I think it was. He's got a tap in. I mean, it's all tall intents purposes, a tap in. and Alistair Johnson somehow scrambles it clear. Matt O'Reilly scores, and you're thinking, right, great, 9th goal of the season. This is good. A second goal wins the game, probably takes the heat and the pressure off you. Come out in the second half, and I don't even think they get across the halfway line more than 3 or 4 times. Certainly counting your one hand. I remember Matt O'Reilly hitting one wide of the post, and that's about it. A couple of late flags. I think Kyogo had a late chance, didn't he, or a late effort. But that apart, the manager said they stopped passing the ball to each other. I mean, I can't fathom that out. And up until Nat Phillips sticks that in his own net, he's doing okay. He's coping, isn't he? He had a decent first half. Second half, Kilmarnock were well worthy of the win, deserved it, because they just went at Celtic. And then Nat Phillips puts it into his own net and then crumbles, just absolutely crumbles. He couldn't do anything right after that.
He'd been threatening it for a while, to be honest to him. To be honest, Nat Phillips, he was doing really silly things in the lead up, and you knew that maybe something was going to happen from his position.
He looked composed and assured in the first half. He was walking 60 yards with the ball and pinging passes right, left, and centre. And you thought to yourself, okay, that's what we want from you. Even Brendan Rodgers said he was commanding in the air, him and Scales, which they were. Vassell never really got a touch in the first half, but second half, I mean, it is the proverbial game of two halves, but Celtic disappeared the second half. And then how many times, I don't want to get on at him, but it just wasn't happening for Mikey Johnson again when he got a start. So I hooked him at half time because some of his deliveries overshot the runway were schoolboy stuff, right? So I would have said to him, right, I gave you a chance. It's not happening. James Forrest, on you go. Or even a Yang. Because I thought Johnson was poor the first half. And Palmer was also poor. He's not exempt either. So there's a lot of people not exempt from criticism here. And
I think the only player's Matt O'Reilly, to be honest. And even then.
And you have to address the white elephant in the room. We're loath to criticise the manager, but today I think he has to, own that as well. Celtic, I don't know what the message was at half time, but they were absolutely garbage the second half, and he could see it, that Kelly were having a go, and it wasn't happening for all up front either. So, do you bring Kyogo on then and go 2 up top and try and get the ball to them? But, I mean, Celtic just disappeared the second half. Everybody disappeared. Even Iwata, McGregor. You see, Matt O'Reilly's probably the only one that comes away with that with any kind of credit, because he scored the first goal and then he's burst through in the second half and, took a poor touch and screwed an attempt wide, which you're actually expecting him to do better with. But then the rest just sort of went to pot, didn't it? Let's be honest. They just kind of crumbled. They buckled under Kilmarnock pressure. How can you buckle under pressure from Kilmarnock?
It's happened twice this season. So,
but even then, Kilmarnock were better today than they were in the first game of that season.
Mm-hmm.
The League Cup game was
well worthy.
Yeah, well worthy of the win in the second half display. I have to say, it put Celtic right under pressure, and I think it was Brendan Rodgers that said they imposed their game on Celtic and Celtic played their game. Why did Celtic play Kilmarnock's game instead of not playing their game?
I've got to say those comments annoyed me as well, because
sorry, what?
It's Brendan Rodgers' job to do something about that, to change it
Correct.
up if they are.
So if he sees his team adapting to their game and not in a good way, then do something about it. Don't stand there and watch that train go by. And as you say, there was maybe an inevitability about Kilmarnock scoring an equaliser and then going on to win it. And I just didn't see enough fight, enough. As I say, this time last week, you see they read the Riot Act at half time. It seemed to have got through on Wednesday night, but the players just seem to have forgotten the message a couple of days later. Unbelievable. I mean, it's utterly unbelievable. It's unforgivable that they can toss away a 1-goal lead at Kilmarnock by playing the way they did in the second half. That's criminal. Kilmarnock were excellent in the second half. I'll big up Derek McInnes' side because he went for it. And once they got the goal behind, they sensed not only were they getting a point, they sensed they could win and went for it again and did a number on Celtic in that second half. And the manager and the Celtic players are found wanting today. And that questions have to be asked about that.
Yeah, I think just going on to, we've spoke about some of the better performances in the first half because admittedly that's where they end. They all end in the first half because everybody in the second half collectively, just didn't turn up. Matt O'Reilly's trying to do things in the middle of the park. Cal McGregor's trying to do things in the middle of the park. Everybody else is panicking around them. Iwata wasn't as effective as what he was against Hibs in the week. He got hooked for Kyogo.
Yeah.
2 men go up front. I think that was when it went to 1 each. And it baffles me in a way that you can throw 2 men up front and still look weaker. Celtic should be more dangerous, and they look less dangerous when they had 2 men up front. Yes, Kyogo had that one chance where he should square it, but he's trying to go for goal, trying to be the hero. Probably should try and square it into the box. Will Dennis saves that, and what was a good afternoon for him. But he could have put out a deck chair in the second half, and he wouldn't have had much to deal with. Honestly, it was that.
You go two up top to win a game, Ryan. If you see not get worse, you go two up to gain some territory. Celtic hardly went up the park the second half. I mean, it was astonishing. It was astonishing collapse, and it is a collapse. Let's not dress it up in any other shape or form. Celtic are 1-0 up, cruising, collapsed. Don't know if people thought at half time that the job was kind of more or less done because they were playing really, really well. Game last 90 minutes. Derek McInnes said in his aftermatch stuff that he get ripped into his players at half time. And so, the old Rollicking obviously inspired his team because he thought that Celtic were just imposing themselves all over in the first half, all over the pitch, and they were. But you saw nothing like that in the second half. Invited it on, and then the inevitable happened. And it's easy to point the finger of blame at somebody like Phillips. He's an easy scapegoat. But how many times have you seen a ball in like that and the defender tries to clear it and it unfortunately goes in their own net?
Just going on to that goal, the cross goes into the box and Nat Phillips goes with his wrong foot. He goes with he's trying to go. I think he's trying to put it out for a corner or something or try and clear it or whatever. Doesn't get anything on it whatsoever. Well, he does. He gets more on it. Unfortunately, goes into the back of his own net. I thought Phillips. There was some nice things that he did in the first half, but I don't like when defenders try and play. They try and play a game that's not their game, and it's not Matt Phillips' game to be Beckenbauer and run through defences and go and try and break the lines. His job is to defend first and foremost, and he didn't do that in the second half. Or he did it too well in the second half by putting it through his own net. But I just thought he was he looked like a player that Kilmarnock could get at in the second half, and they smelt blood when he put that ball through the back of the net. He was trying to do step overs. He was trying to do turn. I didn't understand that at all.
Up until he's put that ball in the back of the net, they were coping. I mean, Kilmarnock were having a go, but Joe Hart didn't have a lot of saves to make. There was a lot of territorial advantage, and they were doing okay. They were forcing their way back into the contest. But I still thought Phillips and Scales were repelling them well enough or decently enough. But the minute he slices it into his own net, it's game over then, because he just went from a guy who up until that point looked like he was coping just to somebody who just lost it. It just lost his focus, lost all control, and it was inevitable a winning goal was coming because you had a defence that was all over the place, certainly your central defence, and you're just thinking, Kilmarnock could win this, and sure enough, they went out and won it, and fair play to them for that. You have to big up them for that. But I can't fathom that up until he diverts that into his own net, Nat Phillips is doing okay, a decent first half, good first half. Even the manager said that. Bit ropey in the second half, but they were doing the basics enough to hold Kilmarnock out, but after that goal, the OG, he's just, that's it. He's just gone. Head's gone. And so, what do you do then? Do you persist with him as well? Or do you just say, you need to come off, big man, because you'll end up costing us? And sure enough, it has cost us, because the focus, the shape, the discipline had all gone, as you say, trying step overs, trying to dink the ball away from guys when the ball's there to be one career right through it. So it's, I don't know, you were just rubbing your eyes in disbelief at that second half performance, to be honest, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Just bring up a wee quick comment here. Somebody says behind BDO we've still got a healthy lead. That lead has been cut down to 5 points at the moment. Could be 2 points if Rangers win their game in hand. That's just the reality of the situation. It's not a healthy lead anymore because it's within touching distance, especially if Rangers win, which they have been doing recently. If they win their next game, if they win their game in hand, then it'll be even closer. That game on the 30th is looking even bigger by the game, and Celtic are in a very up and down point at the moment with their form. They're going to need to get this sorted.
They got away with it last week, Ryan, at St Johnstone, because St Johnstone, to all intents and purposes, are a poor team. There's a reason why Derek McInnes side are in the top 5 now, aren't they? I think they've got top 5 after today's result. They're a good outfit.
5th place,
They're dogged, they're determined, and they make life difficult for you when you go to Rugby Park, which is what any Scottish Premiership side tries to do, especially when they play the bigger teams like Celtic and Rangers, and they have to play to their own advantages and strengths. You knew they were going to do that, and still you let a 1-0 lead slip from your grasp. But Celtic have been, their consistency, as the manager said today, it's been up and down. We've seen it. That's 4 times already this season, isn't it? Well, 5. The 3 draws that they've had, the first half against St Johnstone and the second half today, which has cost you all 3 points, and your unbeaten record has gone. So bang goes that. So it's not as if you're overreacting to one performance. You're not. This is an accumulation of displays over the course of this season where you've pinpointed certain things that have not been right. And today I just think that as a collective, I think Matt O'Reilly and Alistair Johnston are the only 2 that can really be exempt from criticism today. Everyone else deserves everything that's coming to them, and I include the manager in that as well.
Yeah, you can add the European results as well. Celtic have lost 4 times in Europe out of 5 games. The other game was a draw. So when you put all of these results together in a bit of a portfolio, it doesn't read for the best viewing, unfortunately. No. The League Cup was a big disappointment at the same ground at Rugby Park back in August. The league form has been on the whole good, not great. I'd say it's good. Celtic, with the budget that they've got, the players that they've got at their disposal. Yes, I know there's injuries there as well, but they should be winning the vast majority of their games. You just think back to I remember the day that it was a few months ago. It was Motherwell. Celtic played Motherwell, and they won thanks to a last-minute goal from Matt O'Reilly. Rangers get beat that day, and the gap seemed to be massive. It was actually St Mirren who were in second place at that time. If you look at the table now, it's changed ever so slightly, and it's down to the fact that Celtic have faltered in the league. There's been a couple of times that they've faltered. There's been some really, really subpar performances, even in those wins. And some of the wins, there's been subpar performances. You think of the first half against St Johnstone, got away with that. St Mirren 2-1. Took a late goal in the 80-odd minute from O to get the 3 points in that. So as good as it's been, the fact that Celtic have won the majority of their league games, that doesn't tell the whole story. They've not been firing on all cylinders this season, and there needs to be a consistency of form coming in very, very quickly in the lead up, because this festive period, they were calling it a notorious festive period. Greg Taylor was calling it. It'll be notorious for all the wrong reasons if they don't get their act together with regard to league games, because you know, and some games have been getting away with it, and it's came to roost today, unfortunately, for Celtic, and they've been stung.
Yeah, I mean that's it, isn't it? You know, had you won 1-0 and squeaked it, it'd be completely different. But you would be concerned about the levels of performance. But that consistency levels just up and down. That's a major concern. Even the managers was touching upon that as well. And you just can't fathom it, can you? How they can play so well on Wednesday night. And I know they're at home, I get all that, but poor first half against St Johnstone, good last 20 minutes against St Johnstone, great 90 minutes against Hibs, decent 45 against Kilmarnock, second 45 utterly dreadful. That so you chart that, it's like up and down, isn't it? It's there's no continuity there at all. There's no kind of uniformity in performance, is there? Where you say, well, they're playing the same way every week, and we don't like to harp back to the last regime, but his team's won 4-1 and 5-0 at Rugby Park. 4-1 and 5-0, and two of the biggest canters you've ever seen at Rugby Park for a Celtic team. And I know players are different. I get all that, right? But I'm just sort of saying. So it's so what went wrong today? I think a lot of people need to do a bit of navel gazing and introspection, the manager included, and a lot of your bigger players. Wasn't at it today. Awata wasn't at it. McGregor wasn't at it, and the three of the defenders weren't at it. You can't have that, Ryan, on any given Celtic game. Players like that not turning up. Johnston and Palmer just. I think Johnson got one across to didn't he, when he kind of fresh-aired that he should have scored. Don't know what happened there with that chance, but other than that, the delivery was wayward, especially from Johnston. And Palmer, I think Palmer, I know you like him and he brings a lot, and he does bring a lot, but I think Palmer can sometimes flatter to deceive at times as well.
It's true.
And he flattered to deceive today. And you can't have that. They need to be at it every time they step onto that park. And I'm not even using the pitch as an excuse, because Brendan Rodgers got what he wanted in terms of the pitch. With rain, it was quite slick, so Celtic should be able to play football on that.
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say about Palmer, just to defend him ever so slightly, is the fact that he's putting good balls into the box with regard to his set pieces. If he's given such good deliveries and nobody's getting on the end of him, then in turn his performance will
suffer.
Be negative. Suffer. Exactly. That's exactly the word I was looking for. His performance did suffer, and then he went back into his shell. And a player that's so front facing, like Lewis Palmer, a guy that wants to get on the ball and make things happen for the team, as he has been doing. He did it in the last game against Hibs at home. It was just a very, very poor day at the office for him. Very poor day for Mikey Johnson. There was all the talk and the build up. You wouldn't have seen any of the build up on Sky Sports, but there was a lot of build up regarding Mikey Johnson about wanting to repay the manager's faith that he's shown in him. I don't think he did it today, unfortunately. He wasn't the only one, but with Mikey Johnson, I don't want to talk about the last chance saloon as we have, and we did talk about that in the pre-match show. How many more chances is he going to get to make an impact? If Celtic can't afford to have players to sit on the bench. They've already got about £7 million worth of defenders that sit on the bench that don't go on and play. Bernabe didn't play today. He was 3.75. You've got Nawrocki, who was 4.5, allegedly. You've got players that just... Celtic can't afford to have passengers and players to just come on for the last 20 minutes to make an impact. For me, Mikey Johnson, he was trying in the first half, but again, much like Palmer, he came into himself, basically, into his shell.
And you know what? Today, the manager threw on Kyogo in hope and kind of desperation, because they never looked like they were going to play any football to cater to Kyogo. So it was one of them, on you go, try and come up with a bit of magic, because there was no cohesive plan to get the ball to Kyogo or any of the two guys up front, even when you went 4-4-2. And so that's that's on him, on Rodgers, that kind of substitution. Because if you're going to play two up front, then you've got to get the ball to them, and they didn't. And Kyogo could have come on at half time in place of Mikey Johnston. And they could have went two up front and then got the ball to Palmer to try and get the ball to those two, that kind of thing. So
there was a point. There was a point in the second half where Cal McGregor was visibly saying to Lewis Palmer to stop hiding, basically, and show for the ball, because he wasn't sure in the second half. That shows you how bad Celtic were, or how below par they were in the second half. Just a quick point, because I'll probably, I'll probably forget about it by the time it comes back to me. But I cannot believe that David Turnbull sat on that bench for the full 90 minutes today. See, when you're desperate for a goal and you've just had Kilmarnock have scored an equaliser, just somebody to hit the ball, somebody to be a goal threat, and somebody that would probably suit being on a plastic pitch as well.
And to get you up the park, Celtic never got up the park the second half. He would have got us up the park, and if he'd have got within range, he would have tried his luck. So if you and I can see that, and a lot of supporters can see that, why did that not happen? What's the manager seeing or not seeing in that sense then? Because it wasn't happening for Iwata or McGregor, was it?
No, and the thing that I would say as well is the fact that, you're putting two men up front in Kyogo and O, and you're taking off a midfielder. Now, a lot of Celtic's good play comes from the midfield. A vast majority of it probably comes from midfield and the rest from the wing positions. When you take away a midfielder from that, the midfield were getting bullied for large parts of today by Kilmarnock's midfield, and that's all down to them. It's down to a lack of play in Celtic's favour, but you've got to give credit to the home team as well. Don't understand why, if you've got no control in the game, why would you surrender more control, more of the control that you have in the game, by taking off your defensive midfielder and just going for broke? That's probably what cost Celtic in the end from even getting a point. The fact that they don't have a defensive midfielder there. You've seen in the counter attack for the 2-1. I mean, a draw is probably every bit as good as a defeat, to be honest, for Celtic on the day. But on that counter attack from Kilmarnock, you knew what was happening about 10 seconds before. It was like it was death by a thousand cuts, because you knew where the ball was going. You knew there was an overlap, or not an overlap. You knew that there was an overflow of Kilmarnock players. They were outnumbering the Celtic players, is what I'm trying to say, and they got their rewards by putting it past Joe Hart. It was just a very, very poor goal to concede. I don't understand that sub as much as I wanted Kyogo to come on the park and potentially salvage a win, because that's where he was coming on at the time. You're giving up somebody in midfield.
I'll only understand it if there's strategy behind it. That was a genuine throw him on in the hope that he digs out a hole sub, because Celtic did nothing, as I say, to cater for two up front or disrupt the pattern of play as the ball just kept coming towards our goal. There was no disruption to it. It still kept going on, even when Kyogo came on the park, and he had a late effort, didn't he? Yeah, you said he should have squared it. But
should have squared it. I'll need to see it again. I've only seen it once, but Kyogo forces a save out of Will Dennis, but it's one of those ones where the goalkeeper's always going to save it. It's close range to him, and the angle's off as well. He'd have to get an extraordinary shot away to get that goal. It's one of those ones where you maximise your chances by passing to a teammate in that situation, and it might be down to the frustration that Kyogo's got for not starting the game, that he wants to come on and be the hero. Unfortunately, you've got to help your team out in that situation. Not the first time this season, and nobody's exempt from criticism on this podcast. I remember when Kyogo didn't pass to a player at home because he was in a mood with Maeda for not passing to him a couple of minutes before. It happens in games. Players can be selfish, but I just think in that situation, Kyogo's got to pass one of his teammates that's in the box, because there was a few in the box.
Yeah, correct. You've got to be a team player in those situations and be clinical, but I guess, as you say, that comes into it. When in your thinking, when you're a striker, you're naturally selfish, aren't you? And there's a bit you want to be the hero, and maybe that was his instructions. If you get it, have a go. But you've got to be spatially aware, haven't you? See it in pictures, and if someone else is better placed. But I never really have a go at strikers for having a go, because he's trying to score an equaliser, isn't he? An important goal, and try and dig his team out a hole. But that's fine. But it shouldn't have come to that. That's my point. it shouldn't have come to that kind of moment in the match. And so, you try and weigh things up and be logical about everything. And, I just think today we've been kind to them during the season, Ryan. We've gave certain people benefits of the doubt, and, you're always kind of glass half full, that kind of thing. But I think today they deserve everything that's coming to them in terms of criticism, because they were woeful in that second half. And I can understand if they were woeful the whole game and get beat that way, but they were excellent. They were decent the first half. They controlled it the first half. So to let it slip through their fingers like that's more galling. And
yeah, I'd say 2/3 of the team was good in that first half, because if you're going to call it a good performance, then the players up front have got to do the business as well.
Yeah,
the defence in the midfield, they've got their job to do. O didn't do his job in the first half. That chance, and the more I think about it, the more it annoys you looking back on it. It's a sitter. It's a chance that Kyogo hasn't been getting that service when he's been playing the past couple of games. If Kyogo gets that chance, does he score it? Not for me to say, but probably.
And the irony is, it's Mikey Johnson that sets it up, isn't it?
And that's how it changes. That's how the mentality and the sort of overview of a game changes, because he would have had an assist on his thing, and then we wouldn't be complaining as much with Mikey Johnson's lack of effort, or not lack of effort, but lack of end product. Now, because that chance wasn't converted, now who's to say anybody would know the fact that 60, 70 odd minutes later they'd get punished for that by the fact that Celtic would lose 2-1 in the game. But these chances have got to be taken.
Yeah, of course they have. They're gilt-edged chances, Ryan, at this level, so you just can't have that. And for all O deserved all his praise the other night, he's guilty of not being at the races today, isn't he? And you think
very rash striker.
You think you'd be confident today, and at one point I think after that chance I looked up and he was beating his head with his hand. I don't know if the camera panned into that. And I'm just like, okay, you can beat yourself up. I get that, but don't let it affect you. Don't let it show that it's affecting you. Just put it to the back of your boot. I think he dwelt on that because it really seemed to have a big effect on the rest of his game. And like all good strikers, you get out your system and you go in for the next one, but there wasn't a next one, was there? And I just think that moment really played on his mind because it was a big moment in the game, and it's turned out to be an even bigger moment because Celtic have lost all 3 points. And you've got to dust yourself down and get on with the job at hand, and that's to score goals for Celtic and be a nuisance and impose yourself on the game and do all the things that have led you to be leading the line for that game for a start. I don't let things, strikers are always going to miss chances, but it just seemed a strange reaction to me to actually stand in the centre circle and beat your head with your hand like that.
If anything, that gives the opposition defenders, a boost, because they know that their defence is. I know. Maybe they didn't match him, and he's had a chance at goal. But if you see a striker being annoyed with himself in that regard, then does that show? Does that give you that extra 10-20%? Does that make these defenders think this is going to be your day?
Do you know what I do, Ryan? I go up to him and I start giving it, you're never scoring the day, big man. If you can't score that, you're quite within your rights to do that, aren't you? That's part and parcel of the game. So, and I think Kelly players must have done that as well. Got to get into your head after that. Get into his own head. And he allowed that to happen. And it just, as I say, it disrupted the rest of his game because he just wasn't there for the rest of that game. And as good as he was on Wednesday, and he was excellent on Wednesday, these are the other games that you have to, these are your bread and butter games. These are the ones that make you hero and get those stats and assists up and, get those international caps flowing as well. Games like that. And sadly, we're talking here and you're thinking, would Kyogo have scored that if he started? No, one of those imponderables because you'll never ever know. But It's the kind of service the wee man thrives on and craves, isn't it? And you just so bitterly disappointing today, Ryan. You're trying to, keep a cool head on it, but that's 3 points that Celtic have let slip from their grasp, basically because Kilmarnock came out and decided to have a go at you and bullied you about, rumbled them up, as they say, and get in your face, and Celtic allowed that to happen.
Ironically, that's what you would be hoping that Celtic's opposition would have. That's how every team would play, because they come out and have a go and then Celtic can hit them on the counter-attack. It just so happens, for whatever reason, now Celtic didn't have a problem with Kilmarnock at home. I know they scored a goal and there was that 10 minutes of a bit of panic before Greg Taylor scored against his former team to make it 3-1. That's how it finished. But these should be the sort of games that Celtic should be thriving upon. They've got a team that they gambled. They gambled when they brought it back to one each. They gambled for a winner. And they left themselves wide open at the back because they went hell for leather to get that second goal. For whatever reason, Celtic just couldn't match that and were completely spooked. The second half, the first 5-10 minutes of that second half, I lost count of how many corners Kilmarnock were getting. They're getting all these chances to put the ball into the box, and they're an imposing team. They've got loads of players that are over 6 foot. A very, very imposing team that are good in the air. I just think it was a really, really off day for Celtic, and it's one of those ones that they're going to have to get over relatively quickly, especially because there's a Champions League game in midweek as well.
They're going to have to, and conversely, what your opinion, I don't see it as a dead rubber. I think there's £2.5 million at stake, and Celtic need to salvage some kind of pride and get some kind of result on Wednesday. I know it won't make any difference to the group table or the standings, but you've got to go down fighting in that and give it your all and bring in, for a win you get some extra money into the coffers and you'll move on to 4 points. And if there's any succour and comfort in the fact that would give you more points in tally than the year before, then so be it. But you just have to give yourself small victories, So Tuesday night, I want to see Celtic go at it, but I think a lot of Celtic supporters will be turned off by that display today in terms of Tuesday night and might voice their concerns and their opinions with their feet by staying away. Now, I would never urge anyone to do that kind of thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm reading the mood music on social media, and a lot of people are scunnered by that today. Absolutely scunnered. They're sick. But again, we've been speaking about it. It's been kind of coming, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It took a real rollicking from the manager last week to get the team going, and then again they didn't get going until the last quarter of the game. And it pains me to say it, but at the minute you think is there something rotten in the state of Denmark when it comes to Celtic? The manager, players, you can't put your finger on it, can you? Because the circuit's certainly not connecting.
It's Denmark that's only Celtic's shining light at the moment, unfortunately, and Matt O'Reilly. So I thought that's what you were saying there. I was like, what's happening with Matt O'Reilly? I didn't realise that was a saying that you were saying.
No, it's a quote from a Shakespeare play, fella. Yeah, Hamlet, I believe, yeah.
I get you. I think you can look at some of the similarities between today's game and the game last week against St Johnstone. The difference is, I think Kilmarnock are a far better side than St Johnstone are, and that's one of the reasons why Celtic got punished on the day.
Well, let's put it this way, Ryan. If you're looking, Derek McInnes, Craig Levein...
He's a good manager.
Certainly the first half. Derek McInnes is a good manager, but Derek McInnes, Craig Levein in the first half, all these guys that have got at Celtic and exposed their fragility, and the other managers that have taken points from them this season. Craig Levein just in the St Johnstone job, but the 45 minutes at McDermott Park, they made Celtic look very ordinary. Scored a goal 1-0, just didn't have the firepower or the gumption to win that football match. just ran out of ideas in the end. But they're all shown templates to beat Celtic. They're exposing vulnerabilities there, a fragility in Celtic. And, we've said it before and we'll say it again. Didn't think Celtic are in a title race. They're in a title race now. Big time.
Absolutely. Yep.
And with with the consistency levels the way they are, there's no guarantee that Celtic are going to close to this title or canter to this title or whatever. And December the 30th is now shaping up to be the most notorious of the notorious games in this 7 Premiership League stretch. And, it could be notorious for all the wrong reasons, Ryan. If Celtic don't get their act together and quickly, bounce back up off the canvas, because that kind of performance certainly won't do at Celtic Park against their rivals. You know it and I know it. And it's up to the players, but it's certainly up to the manager to start addressing those issues right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to discuss before we go off? I realise that we'll be on tomorrow morning to dissect it with Hamish on our usual Monday show. But is there anything else that maybe we haven't touched upon that you want to mention or discuss?
No, I think in the words of Meatloaf, let me sleep on it, and I'll give you an answer in the morning. I think
I'm sure we'll get more. I'm sure we'll get more smiles from Tony tomorrow. That's for sure. There's always a positive light on it. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's joined us on the stream. There's plenty of viewers today. 525 it says on my screen, which is a total for Facebook, X, and on YouTube as well. So thank you to each and every one of you. We really do appreciate all the support that everybody. I know there's a lot of fans that are not happy at the moment with regard to things. Might not even be fans of Celtic on this stream, but we thank everybody for joining us regardless, because it's one of our biggest post-match streams that we've had. So we really do appreciate that. I realise that there's probably more to discuss in a negative sense with regard to these results, but it's still good to speak about it, and fingers crossed tomorrow we'll be in a bit more of a positive light to discuss the game. We'll have an extra opinion from Hamish as well, and he'll discuss what he thought of the game. That's if he woke up for the game. It would be dedication to keep that on, especially the second 45 minutes, but he will be on tomorrow. Tony, thank you very much for joining me. I realise that you're still in air just now. You get yourself home and get
I will do.
Yeah, and get warm. Basically, It looks absolutely freezing from where you are just now. Thank you to everyone in the comments section. If you like what we do and you want to be notified when we go live, please press the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. We would really, really appreciate it. Thank our sponsors at MPH Group for plumbing, heating, kitchens and bathroom work. Free. I'll have a wee 2 wee seconds. I've just actually clicked off it, but I'll go back on it just now. MPH offer flexible finance options. When you opt for a Navien Boiler installation through MPH Boilers, not only are you choosing top tier efficiency, you'll also be getting a free Navien Internet Controller, which can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%. They're also covering the first year's service, no added costs. MPH, as always, are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland. And yeah, if you want to get involved in their winter offer, then please check out all the links and the descriptions for plumbing, heating, kitchens and bathroom work. Look no further than MPH Group. And www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe if you want to get involved. £4 for 4 months or £18 for the full year. If you want to support us just that wee bit more, then thank you very much. Tony, I will let you go. Thank you very much for joining me today.
No problem. Pleasure. Just wish it had been a happier occasion we were speaking about, but sadly not to be.
That's it. It's always going to be a happy Monday, regardless of the result. We'll have a happy Monday with Hamish talking about the game and the events and some of the comments that Brendan Rodgers has made. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thanks to everybody for joining us today, and we will see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Cheers, guys.